hours. You can turn the tape off during the breaks if you want to, but just remember to turn it back on. We've had some issues with that sometimes where somebody forgot to turn the video recording back on. So if you can put one of those 5 students in charge of turning off and on the recorder, then you won't have to worry about doing that. Okay, so here is your scoring guide. This is what the division will use to go through and score your project. The first thing they're going to look at is your objectives. And it's a real simple math system. It's worth 20 points. Your objective needs to include the behavior, the condition, and the standard of what the students are going to need to do in your class. And that's worth 4 points each for each one of the 5 objectives you're supposed to have. So it's 20 points maximum. And then you can go through and look at the other things here. But all you want really to know is this top line. This is how you get the most points possible. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say about that. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Instructional materials. You need to have 2 instructional aids, one of which must be a student manual, and you get 20 points for that. Now, your second instructional aid may be a PowerPoint if you choose to, but PowerPoints are not required as part of your class. If you don't want to create one, you don't have to, because it's an instructional aid. It doesn't teach the class, you teach the class. So if you don't want to include a PowerPoint, you could do some other kind of an instructional aid that will help the students learn the information. Your references, remember we said you had to have 5, 10 points, 2 points each. So if you turn in 4, you can figure out how many points you're going to get. Activity. You need to have an activity that fulfills the application step in the learning process and involves the entire class. If you've got practical skills, there's your activity. If you don't have practical skills, then you need to have something in your course that is an activity that involves everybody. If you're teaching some sort of a medical class and you're going to teach them a skill and stop and then they're going to do it, that would be an application step. If you're teaching something like officer type classes or something like that, you may have a paper and pencil activity that involves the entire class. It needs to be appropriate for what you're trying to teach. And again, if you've got that activity, it involves the entire class, and you have instructions in both the instructor guide and the student manual, then you get 10 points. So this is a place where some people lose some points if they don't have those instructions in both places. You need to have content sufficient for the 4 hours. You have all the components of the lesson plan, and you see that little asterisk right there? Right down here it tells you what you need to have. The topic, the level of instruction, instructional materials needed, presentation outline, and a lesson summary. Okay? So that, if you have all those parts, will get you 40 points. Notice at the bottom it says a minimum of 70 points are required to pass this skill. All those points add up to 100, and you need to get at least 70 in order to pass the skill. Notice this says to be evaluated by the Division of Fire Safety, so nobody else will sign off on this skill except for them. Now, having said that, I will look through all the stuff you want me to look through, and I can pretty well tell you what points you'll get for it if you want to know. But I won't be evaluating your project because I taught the class. Okay, you're going to develop a student evaluation instrument, which is a test. So you're going to write 4 multiple choice questions, 2 matching questions, and 4 fill-in-the-blank questions for your test. And in this case, you have to get a minimum number of points in order to pass this skill. This, as far as the NFPA standards are concerned, is a separate skill, even though it's part of your project. So if you have all those and you measure your objectives, you're going to mark on there which objectives you're measuring. You get 20 points. You need to have 14 to pass that skill. Okay, same thing with this. This is a class evaluation instrument. This is part of your lesson plan, but it's going to be evaluated separately. The evaluation is submitted for the course and instructor, and it includes 4 dimensions. There's that little asterisk again. If we go on down here, the components of a lesson plan should include appropriateness of the objectives. Actually, that should be the components of an evaluation. I keep forgetting to tell them that's a mistake there. Components of an evaluation should include appropriateness of the objectives, the learning environment, instructional aids, and instructional characteristics. And again, you have to get at least 14 points. So you need to have at least 3 of those. Otherwise, you're not going to pass that skill. Okay, you're going to conduct your class using your lesson plan, and this is where you teach those 5 people who are going to be so nice to sit down for you. It can be more. If you can teach this to your whole department, that would be fabulous. Just record it one of the times that you do. Again, this is going to be evaluated by the Division of Fire Safety, and they are going to flip through your DVD or your recording to be able to evaluate these things. Are they going to sit down and watch the whole 4 hours of your class? No, probably not. But they are going to be looking at least until they find these things.